All right, fantastic. Now I am live. Spark Campfire. How is everybody doing? It is Ben Harris here. If you've not seen me yet, my name here is in the bottom left-hand corner, I believe, on your screen. And normally you're probably used to seeing Perry's handsome face. You will have to deal with my ugly mug for now because we're excited to come to you. And here I am, actually not in studio, not in our office, kind of live in the corner of my living room here on an end table, kind of with some traveling plans and things like that, kind of have to roll with the punches. And I think I've got my mic up too. So my mic's working. Sound quality is great. And we're here for our first ever What's Working Now segment. And this is something that we'll be doing once a month in Campfire. And what we're going to be doing is interviewing people who are promoting ClickBank offers, whether they're an affiliate or a vendor, and reaching our affiliate platinum status, which is the highest feat you can reach. So reaching the pinnacle of becoming a platinum affiliate at ClickBank. And it's something that is sort of the finish line in a way for a lot of affiliates who come in because you get incredible perks of having whether it's account management, more help, coming to Platinum Summit, so many great things with it. So Tom is somebody, and I don't want to speak too much for him because we'll get him up here in a second, but somebody who was really at a crossroads earlier this year. He had reached platinum status, and I think he was a former student of Robbie Blanchard, if not a current student still, but learned a lot of the great content about Facebook ads, how to promote ClickBank offers, high converting offers through Facebook ads, and did that at an extremely high level. And I share this commonality trait with him. Earlier this year, it was like, what the heck is going on? I'm getting these accounts shut down, ads shut down. And I know I've seen comments here in the group, and we've talked about it on Q&As. He's not the only one. I'm not the only one, right? We've all have kind of experienced that this year. So he pivoted, and he pivoted in an amazing way to not only retain that platinum status, but even earn more money and just now having another vein of gold, as we used to call it, because there's so many different ways to start driving traffic through affiliate marketing. And me being, kind of a child of paid traffic, I love paid traffic because it allows me to get to my destination quicker, so to test and to find out what's working and to really maximize upon that. So I've got a few people coming on. I wanted to give it a few minutes before I brought Tom in to get everybody in here. Serge, what's going on, man? And if we do have some time at the end, we might be able to do some live Q&A and possibly ship out a Make Bank hat or two. And I know if you were on here watching from our campfire a few weeks ago, I do still owe you a hat. I promise I will get that to you. Shipping's kind of been a pain lately, but we will have gifts. We will ship them out. I love prizes. Who doesn't like prizes? Loving a Make Bank hat, Make Bank t-shirt, sweatshirt, some things that we got that I love giving out. So participation pays is kind of one thing I like. So if you have any questions, what I was just saying, make sure you comment them right here, and we'll go ahead and save them. We can address them at the end if there are any. But there's going to be so many gold nuggets in here. I think it might kind of tweak some questions. Awesome. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Tom Bell. Tom, what's up, dude?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I know it's kind of like weird doing this virtual thing, so I'll be the only one clapping.
Right.
Bring it up like, yeah. I need like a button to press that starts clapping for us. But thank you for coming on.
Sure.
And we're super excited to dive into not only hear about what you're doing right now that's working, but the backstory that's got you to where you are, because people see Tom Bell, platinum affiliate, that's like, oh my god, like this guy is way up here, but it wasn't always that way, right?
No, absolutely not. I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, so I basically started out as I still am. I was a pianist, so I was a professional piano player, and as you know, probably being a musician, it's not the best paid thing in the world. It's more kind of a love of the arts and everything. So that's really where I started my journey, and I started using Google Ads to get students for my piano lessons. So I used to do a lot of performing, and I also did teaching as well. So I had a teaching business, and that kind of opened my eyes to sort of the performance marketing world. And I was paying 20 cents, as you guys would say there. For us, it'd be about 30 pence. And here in England, and getting students that were worth hundreds or even thousands to me over the course of their lifetime. So that really got me started there. Then it came across affiliate marketing. So this was about 4 years ago. So I've been doing it a while, but nothing unrealistic for people. Yeah, and then I started sort of promoting ClickBank offers. I was doing a lot of pay-per-view traffic back then. So a lot of pop traffic. Obviously, more people are on mobile these days, so it's not quite the same volume it used to be. I did a lot of PPC as well, and then I moved over to Facebook, and then native as we're at today. So when I kind of started there, I'd be really happy with just $100 a day. That was what I used to think. If I could just make $100 a day, on the side to fund my music, that would have been enough. And then it just ended up sort of blowing up to 7-figure level, and it's just changed my life completely.
That's amazing.
Mm.
How long, reaching platinum status, and
Sure.
you've only been doing this for 4 years. How long
Yeah.
did it take you to really get the wheels turning and sort of have that paradigm shift of like, whoa, $100 a day is nothing.
Right.
I'm actually capable of so much more. When was that moment?
Sure. Well, the first few months I started, I probably lost a little bit of money actually. It's I only say that. I'm saying that more to fire people up because new affiliates, they're typical for just trying one thing, and they're putting $10 a day into the campaign and it's not converting. It's like, oh, this is a scam. And you just have to be thorough with your testing to start. You have to test lots of offers, you have to test lots of campaigns. And then I was able to turn it around quite quickly. And then I hit my first $100 day probably a couple of months after I started. And I actually remember very clearly being on holiday with my girlfriend at the time. I was in Rome, and we were just going out, seeing all the awesome sites around the city, and we kind of didn't get time to do any work on my business while I was there, obviously. And then came back to my laptop. I think I actually logged in at the end of the week just to see I've been making sort of $100 to $150 a day just in passive income. And that was when I kind of realized, hold on a minute, actually there's definitely something in this. And then I just was able to sort of build it out from there, more campaigns, getting more traffic to my offers, investing in my learning, and learning new traffic sources all the time, and being really a good student of the business as well. I think that's really, really important. So yeah, it probably took a couple of months for me, and then very quickly able to sort of move it up from there.
Very cool. And making $100 a day while sightseeing in Rome. Life is so hard, Tom. Yeah, I know. So cool. Did you, as you were starting to get traction, did you find that you were having success within a certain niche or a certain, vertical industry? What was that like for you?
Yeah. So to start with, obviously, like health, I think that's probably one of the best ways to go, just because since we're talking about sort of Facebook and potentially native, those broad appeal offers, there's just so many people that are interested in that kind of thing, and they're very easy to get to work on like these broader platforms like Facebook. So it's a good way to start. Obviously, when you go to those bigger niches, there is going to be a bit more competition there. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something you obviously have to be aware of. But there are also these little micro niches as well. So over the years, I've done super well with all these like smaller, ClickBank products, and like in the survival, the energy niches as well. I'm sure we're going to chat a little bit about that later on when we get on to native. But I don't think there's like a one size fits all. My best advice for people would be to go with something you're already familiar with, and something where you can already understand kind of the customer avatar a little bit better. So for me, it'd be no good me going into like a skincare offer necessarily for my first offer, because I use a moisturizer, Ben, but I'm no expert, so whereas I know a lot about like fitness and health, and that would probably be a good way to go for me to start with if I was a new affiliate potentially. So I really just think it depends on the person, I think, really, and obviously matching and aligning the traffic source with that as well.
Okay. And speaking of paid traffic, and I've kind of went through this scenario a couple of times, but I'd love your take on it. It's really as simple as kind of 3 steps, breaking it down to traffic and conversion. So you have your traffic source right here, and you're just driving them to a landing page or an opt-in page that's then in turn sending them to the affiliate offer. Is that the structure you follow as well?
Yeah, definitely. I've got all kinds of projects going on online, but we're talking about like the classic sort of arbitrage model, money in, money out, profit, hopefully.
Yeah.
So in order to see kind of a return on day one, yes, that's what you're going to have to do. If you want to like invest in like an email list, obviously, you have to be prepared to see that return a little bit later. But yeah, to be honest with my affiliate stuff, sort of 90% of what I do is kind of the straight sale kind of model. And then if I see potential, I might sort of tweak things from there, or run a more advanced kind of funnel. But generally speaking, I kind of stick with that, certainly on Facebook and, native, if I'm
Now,
running affiliate offer.
do you find more success of driving traffic to an opt-in page, or more like I don't say advertorial, but whether it's an article type blog, and that could depend on the offer, and question could go kind of a bunch of different ways. But you mentioned health. Let's say you're in the health niche market. How would you structure that campaign?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the offer. So let's say, there's loads of good weight loss offers on ClickBank. You've got BioFit, you've got Flat Belly Tonic, excellent offers. So if you look at that offer, you're going to see the VSL obviously at the end of the flow. And these VSLs, they tend to be about 40 to 60 minutes. They're very aggressive. They're designed to sell. If you listen to the language in these VSLs, and guys, I really encourage you to study the VSLs before you even launch a campaign. So many affiliates just get the link and whack it up without studying those factors, because it's so important, because you can get to the bottom of the demographics of the niche, the psychographics, build your customer avatar. It's so important. You've got to think about what the pain points are, and you can find all that out through the VSL, and then you can align your obviously advertising flow with that. So yeah, for me, that's important to realize first. And then it's basically you can work backwards. So to answer your question, in terms of the landing page, and in terms of the ad, so the ad's designed to build enormous curiosity to attract that click in the first place. So it's the same. I know we're going to sort of compare the two perhaps later, but Facebook and native, you're paying almost a fixed amount for that CPM, and it's your role as the advertiser to manipulate the click-through rate to get cheaper traffic. So you're going to pay the same for the traffic, roughly. The higher you get your click-through rate, the more traffic you're going to get for the same price, right? And that's all done through creating good, curious, curiosity-based ads, and sparking that interest. And then on the landing page, the role for me is to raise or heighten that curiosity. Now, the fact we've got a 40-minute pitch video coming up next, I don't want to oversell necessarily on that landing page. I don't want to, so that's the mistake I see people make. They're talking about where you can get the product from, what the refund policy of the product. They go into too much detail, when really the role is, that's the VSL's role to do that for you. So for me, I kind of like to go like if I was doing a ClickBank VSL type offer, I'd probably go over a shorter land, really strong headline at the top, image, some short copy under there, and then call to action button. Probably watch now. I'll just give you guys a little tip with that image as well. If you go for like a video player style image, that works super well to increase the click-through rate on the landing page, but also you're pre-qualifying that prospect a little bit better, because they're now subconsciously aware there's a video coming next. So yeah, there's a few good tips there. So I think, like I said, it really depends on the offer.
Sure.
If you've got an offer where it doesn't have that VSL, and it's more like, let's say it was a supplement offer and there's no VSL, it was just a big long landing page with testimonials on and a big description of the product, perhaps, I might have to do a bit more work on the landing page to warm the prospect up a bit more. So like you said, with the advertorial landing, that might be a better fit. So that's the way I kind of look at things. I like to start backwards and then work back to the ad from there.
So when you're looking to promote a product, you really study the offer, don't you? You really study it.
Oh, massively. Yeah.
Okay. Love that. That's very cool.
I actually want to feel, I'd almost want to feel like I could have a sit down chat with that person that would, my prospective customer.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of let's go back to, your journey as you're really finding your groove and, reaching platinum status through promoting, high converting ClickBank offers through Facebook ads. So, and I've kind of hinted that it went wrong a little bit. So tell us more. Tell us more about that.
Definition of wrong is.
Yeah. What exactly happened there?
Yeah, so I was doing, I was doing some good numbers. I was doing, up to sort of 10K a day,
Wow.
with affiliate offers. Yeah, and it was great. It was absolutely, it was almost like printing money. And I know you've been there, Ben, as well. So
money's fun.
Yeah, it's literally like printing money when it's on. Now, then things start to get quite difficult. So that was kind of at the end of April, that kind of time. And ad accounts just going down like nobody's business, and waking up with anxiety every morning, wondering if my ad account had gone down. Check my ClickBank stacks. Wake up, go to the computer, check the Facebook accounts, and for me that was well, I don't think it was particularly healthy. But also, it's just not a sustainable venture necessarily, unless you want to play the game of 200 ad accounts and like some people do. But then you have to accept that's a little bit black hat. But I'm not trying to call anything out. But yeah, that's just the game. So yes, the shutdowns were an issue, and then obviously we've had iOS and the iOS update that Apple have potentially kneecapped Facebook with. And I did notice my cost per purchase was going up, and the conversion rate was lower after that. So if you've got your own brand, that's a bit less of an issue because you're still going to get all of that back end business. That being said,
True.
I do know some bigger brands that have stopped using Facebook, but as an affiliate, we're on quite fine margins. And especially if we're using that straight sale flow, we need to, that return on day one is essential. So all that being said, that kind of led my decision more towards other places, greener pastures, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Okay. And what, I guess, how did you really land on, okay, I'm going to go in the world of, banner ads, I guess not banner ads, but, native advertising, because there are many different ways. What made you pick that route?
Sure. I mean, it's something that I've been aware of for a while, that I was just so focused on Facebook. And the money was just so good. Like, I almost didn't feel like it was necessarily worth, the return on investment of my time to really nail it. So, but then everything, obviously things start to get difficult. So I was kind of left with no choice almost. Obviously, there's lots of ways to run traffic online. And I do have other online projects where I run like SEO traffic, and I own a tennis website, so I play tennis. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, we'll talk about that another time maybe. But yes, in terms of the native stuff, so I mean, with the tennis project, we actually sell traffic as a publisher as well. So I was kind of aware of that kind of model. And native, it was just one of those things kind of on my list of things to master at some point. And then, having had the Facebook background, for those of you at home, perhaps you've been in a similar situation or you're struggling right now with the ads, actually moving over to these display platforms like native, it's the same process. It's the same process. I mean, I basically was able to clone a lot of my Facebook campaigns onto native, because the process of building advertisements and the process of, landing pages, it is different, but it's very, very similar at the same time. So from Facebook, the challenge is moving someone from that social mindset to the buying mindset. With native, it's moving someone through like a browsing mindset to a buying mindset. So for those of you who aren't particularly familiar with what native ads are, it's basically, just like Ben said, it's basically display ads on websites, but they're actually designed to blend into a website to look like content. So, and the beauty of that lies in the fact that the user doesn't necessarily know that they're in an advertising flow until it's too late almost,
Wow.
So they're there to consume content. They believe they're consuming content. That's why I was saying with the landing page, I had kind of native in mind as I was answering your question with the landing page. If you push too soon with the sale, you're going to lose the prospect. You're going to destroy the advertising flow, because you think about the mindset of the user, they're not ready for that yet because they think they're consuming content. That's where you have to let and that's why these ClickBank offers work so well, because they're designed to engage the user in like a series of micro commitments in order to sell them. I mean, I love cars, Ben. I don't know if you do as well.
I did know that.
I did. Okay, well, I was going to say, if we were to walk into, I'm looking at a new one end of the week actually, so I have to catch up with you offline about that. But if I was to walk into the sales room and someone was just to say, okay, well, let's get the payment sorted, I'd be like, what? I need to test drive it first. I need a bit of chit chat, maybe a coffee at least. So it's the same with your landing page. You're just trying to heighten that curiosity, and that's the key with native, I find.
Yeah, I've always been told that you can never walk up to a girl and just ask her to marry you if you've never spoken to her. There's levels. There's a level of courtship.
That works for me, Ben. I didn't know what about you.
It's marketing's so different, and especially in affiliate marketing, running paid traffic. And I love that you said that. And I think the biggest key takeaway that I just heard you say of saying that pulling people off social media, they're in a social mindset. with
Right.
native display ads, they are in a browsing mindset. You know, they
Yes.
are more targeted based off what prior research versus prior activity. Is that
Yeah, I
accurate?
think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and with Facebook, a lot of us use the Quizlander
Mm-hmm.
to engage the user in those, like I used the word earlier, the micro commitments. Once you engage them in the process of clicking, you start to get them into obviously what you want to do, engage in your
Mm-hmm.
funnel, and then they're also going to click to buy at the end of the funnel. So if people are hanging out online and chatting, those quizzes work really well to sort of interrupt that flow.
Mm.
Now you could run a quiz on native as well, but I'd recommend sticking to more like a content-based landing page, because that's what they're already doing on that
Mm-hmm.
platform. They're already consuming content. So that's my approach with that. I don't see a lot of quizzes. I'm not saying it can't work, but I think that was more for Facebook. I'm sure you've had similar experience
Mm-hmm.
on there.
Yeah, quizzes worked really well
Yeah,
of engaging, right? Getting people
absolutely.
to, yeah, and like you said, the
Especially
habit
for
of
the weight
clicking.
loss stuff.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Mm.
Um, gosh, okay. Um, and I know you've touched on it. I don't want to take too many steps back, but I
No,
wanted to make sure that the audience understood, because a lot of people are new to this idea. How would you define native advertising? Because I've heard it been called a couple of different things. If someone was brand new, I've never done it before, how would you describe it?
yeah, you could call it display advertising. It's a
Okay.
type of display. It's basically an advertisement designed to appear within content, or designed to look like content. So if you were browsing a website, any website, you go into like CNN.com or any of these big sites, you get the little image box, and then you get the headline underneath. And normally you click on that and it goes to another article on the site. With a native ad, it looks exactly the same, but it goes to an ad. So it's not one of these. When we say display, we're not talking about one of these big banner ads that's designed, on the sidebar of a website, that's designed to literally scream at you through the computer screen. It's not. We're not talking about one of those. We're talking about, and often they actually appear at the bottom of an article. So if you think about someone that's on a website, they've been conditioned to look below an article to find the next piece of content that they've been recommended. Just like on Google, if you go to Google and do a search, at the bottom of Google, the suggested search terms. We've been conditioned to think this. Therefore, subconsciously, they feel it's relevant for them. So that's often where you will see them.
Love
it's very
that.
clever. This has been around for years. This has been around since like the early 1900s, where they used to do this sort of thing in their magazines at the time, or whatever you call them. You can actually see examples of it. The principle has been around a while. And native ads, I think they start to become mainstream around the 2011 mark. But now, obviously, with things being, very difficult on Facebook, the trend is really going up now. So now's the time to kind of look into this, I'd say, for sure. So there's never been a better time to look into it.
That's really cool. Have you seen your competition increase recently because of that shift?
Not directly, and that's something I could look inside a campaign and say. In terms of like sort of people I know in the industry and the volume of people doing it, yes, and people that I know at traffic sources, people that I know, softwares like the volume, and yes, there has been a significant increase, but it's not saturated. It's definitely room for everyone.
That's a question I get a lot here, and I can't stress. I mean, the internet is a big, 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 big place. I promise there's room. There is room. Like, just because Tom is out here completely crushing it with display ads does not mean that you cannot as well. Like, he's not taking up the whole room. I promise.
No, definitely not. I mean, students I kind of work with, I actually just spend a bit of my own money just testing, stuff and guiding people on, the right way to go, definitely. So it's absolutely room for everyone. There always has been. And the thing is as well, long after something dies, there'll always still be people making money in it.
Sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Always.
Okay. Yeah. So you've touched base on the similarities and the differences, and I kind of want to cover all the steps because you mentioned you can almost duplicate the same efforts that you were doing or used to be doing on Facebook into native. So how did you discover that? And then what's that process look like?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, what does that process look like? So basically, obviously you need to join a traffic source. So I run a lot of traffic through Volume's DSP. So I'm sure Ben will be able to get you a discount there or something. But I know, yeah, you could get your boat. There's definitely links around for a bonus there. So they're a great platform because basically they're a traffic aggregator. DSP stands for demand side platform. So they directly, I hope this isn't getting too technical, but they directly integrate with the traffic source. So you're basically able to run your campaigns and you're able to pause elements inside the your volume account, and that pauses it directly inside the traffic source as well. So that's a great place to get started. Obviously, you can work directly with these traffic sources as well, like Rev Content, MGID, Nativo, Passendo. There's some very good ad exchanges out there, but the Volumes DSP is an excellent way to get started. And if you're looking to get started on a budget as well, a lot of people think you need thousands of dollars a day to start an. That's so untrue. You can get started with smaller budgets as well. That being said, the larger budgets, obviously, you're going to collect data faster. Smaller budget, you're going to collect data slower, but I don't feel that's necessarily, a stumbling block. So that's the first step. And the second step is I would look at all your best performing creatives that you have in Facebook. Look at those images that you guys are running where you've got really strong CTRs. Perhaps you've got lots of conversions on certain types of images. And I would basically, you might have to resize them a little bit for the particular exchange you're running on. But I would basically plug those in. The other thing you're going to have to do is create a headline. Again, you guys are used to running that on Facebook. The difference between Facebook is you don't have a big long section for ad copy. It's a very different kind of ad. It's a short ad. It's an image and a headline. So those images really do need to be show-stopping images. Another little tip I'll just share. Personally, I found a lot of you guys are probably running the vector style images. So the drawing style images, which basically are very different to the real images, obviously. I found a lot more success running the real stuff rather than the drawing type images that some of you guys might be running. So I think it just comes down to the mindset of the users on Facebook and native platforms. Yeah.
And you're accomplishing the same goal both ways, because what you said, what you have to do is generate curiosity, grab
exactly.
The
that's the key. That's the secret. The cheaper you can get that traffic, the more profitable you're going to be. And the only way you can get the traffic cheaper is by having better ads. That's the only way. Yeah. We know these offers convert.
Okay.
We know these offers convert on ClickBank. They're proven to work.
Absolutely.
It's how you cultivate that traffic that's going to make the difference to you.
And I've said this tons of times. Maybe people on here blew in the face from me saying it a bunch, but when you're selling anything online, you need three things. You need a hook, a story, and an offer.
Absolutely.
And if you're not selling the way you want, as successfully as you want, one of those three are wrong, right? Sometimes more than one.
Sure.
But with affiliate marketing, the story and the offer are already done. Like you said, they are extremely high converting offers for a reason. It's your job to curate that hook, to master, and like you have just mastered the art and science of creating those hooks and knowing step 1 to 10, let's just say, where your customer is going to be at on that awareness scale to make them problem aware, solution aware, kind of. And to do that, you have to study the offer, which you've really hammered on. I love that. And from a better ads perspective, in your experience in native, have you ever used any creative that the offers provide to you, or do you always go create it on your own after studying the offer?
It's a really good question. It's a really quick answer as well. No, I haven't.
Yeah, create it yourself. Okay.
Yes, always, because if you've got access to that image, someone else will.
True.
And you've got to position yourself above the other affiliates. So do you want to be the average person, or do you want to be great? I knew I wanted to be great. I was prepared to go the extra mile and put in that work to find those images. This kind of links nicely to the spy tools as well, Ben. And I know a lot of affiliates, they just want to jump on a spy tool, copy everything, and run that as a campaign. And I've been on the Facebook ad spy tools before and seen my exact landing page.
Yeah, guilty.
Yeah, and my exact images, and I'm like, but that's the thing. That person was second to the party. If you use the same image as someone else as well in a campaign, A lot of people don't know this, but the algorithm at the traffic source will actually punish you for that, because if you're not able to come in with the same level of engagement in the CTR of your campaign as that person that's running already, you'll be placed lower in the auction, and you'll get lower quality traffic and less traffic. So, for me, I like to look on the spy tools tool too, as much as anyone, but I'll just use it as a source of inspiration. In the same way, if the vendor's going to give you some images, it's very unlikely they've probably tested them really extensively. And even if they have, would you really want to be running the same thing as someone else? Take the inspiration, go out and find your own, and be really aggressive with that as well. Split testing is an art, but split testing is going to make the difference for you, especially on native, where you've got the facility to split test so many creatives at once. You could test 60 different creatives at once, all different images, different headlines, all rotate with each other. You can split test 6 different landers at once if you wanted to. You could even split test a couple of different offers, as long as those offers aligned with the hook that's being created in your ad. And then you just pause the losing combinations and you keep the winners. So in terms of difference between Facebook was very pockety. The traffic was very, it was literally like, I do go fishing, so I've always used the example. But you could set the exact same thing up, 5 times, and those ad sets would perform very differently.
Isn't that weird?
Right. Yes. Well, it's being aware of that makes the difference. People, it's easy to think, oh, we'll just do it once, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You could have had a winning campaign and never known. Native, you're not fighting with an algorithm on native. It's different. You just buying data, cold hard data, no algorithm, in the same way. And you're basically testing lots of images, you tested lots of landing pages, and then you filter your data down from there.
I didn't know that about how native didn't kind of do that on Facebook. So I always thought that was weird that you could replicate the same ad set and it would have different results. And you're like, this is the exact same thing to the exact same audience. Why is it performing differently? That's insane. And thank you for noting of create your own art, right? Create your own, art, but designs. And I've done both, right? I've had ads copied, and I've copied ads, like I have. And,
I've done it before. When I started, I used to do it as well. It never worked.
Because I've been lazy before, and it persistence pays, creativity pays. And what Tom just said is that these machines are powered by artificial intelligence, and there's millions and millions of little bots that are crawling all over the internet. And guess what? They know you're not the first one that's posted that ad, whether it's anywhere, and it's going to perform less. So use as inspiration, create your own, or if you have a great graphic designer, give them examples and they can have something that's new, that's fresh. And that will for sure pay off jumping into native advertising. Very cool. Okay. We actually, not to pivot too hard, we have a question that came in.
Sure.
Says, Tom, instead of Facebook, you're suggesting that we go to a website with a native ad. So a website is in a landing page.
Yes. Is that what they meant? Yes.
Yeah. And even someone had a question about quiz funnels earlier as well. And Tom had noted on this, or I'll let you address it, but in native advertising, they're in a little bit of a different state, right? Because they're browsing, they're reading. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that, as in the difference between social and native advertising?
Sure. Well, you just got to think about where the user's coming from. So, if someone's seeing a Facebook ad, obviously they're on the Facebook platform. And what do we do on Facebook? We chat. I know what I do. I don't know what you do, Ben, but I'm chatting on the instant messenger. I'm browsing my news feeds. I'm hanging out, basically. So if you imagine trying to approach some people on the street and try and sell them something that we're hanging out, wouldn't necessarily be the easiest. You have to engage them with something. So what I meant by the social mindset is exactly that. You've got to move them from that kind of mindset into a mindset where they're going to buy. And the way to do that is to engage them in a series of questions with the quiz, because they're committing to that process of answering them by clicking. And then at the end of the process, they get sent to an offer, at which point they're quite warmed up, because they've engaged with your advertising flow already. And then naturally they'll want to reciprocate and follow through with the offer and hopefully buy, because these VSLs, they're just full of hooks and offering an answer but they're never quite giving it to you, and then you know, I mean, funny story. My mum's not the most tech savvy, bless her. So I definitely don't get it from her. But I came down one day and she's just got herself a new computer, and I just saw she was like full on engaged in the VSL. It was like obviously like some ClickBank product or something. I just found it funny, but it's because what she was saying to me. She was saying, "Oh, you know, he's got this answer for this," and I was like, "We're gonna have to wait a while to."
To see, you're like, Mom, I know what's happening here.
Yeah,
so yeah,
exactly. But they're very effective. So that's basically what I meant about the social mindset. Now, the browsing mindset. When someone sees a native ad, they're already on a site. So
love that.
you know, I was advertising on golf.com the other day, and you know, obviously the people there, they're consuming articles about golf. You know, they might be looking at video content that's on the site, it might be written content. So you basically need to approach it from a little bit of a different angle. So that's why I like to offer them some content on the landing page, whether that's an advertorial, like Ben said, or it's a shorter piece of content with, like, you know, a headline and image and a short kind of ad copy to warm them up to the offer. That's the difference, basically. I hope that answers your question.
I definitely believe that does. And if you have a follow-up question about that, guys, just go ahead and comment here and we'll address it. But so kind of putting us in a state, right? So let's just say my name is Mike. Okay. I'm brand new to native advertising.
Sure.
I'm brand new to ClickBank. What are 3 things that I could, or, you know, a couple of things that I could take away to sort of get started? Let's say I'm going after, I believe that the top converting offer right now is still Flat Belly Tonic. So I'm in the health space, weight loss. You know, what would I do to get started on native?
Sure. Well, I don't know if this is a good time to say, but I've just basically launched a native advertising course. So it's Ben's going to pop a link down for you guys. But you know, I say we, it's myself and my business partner. One of my business partners, David Ford, who some of you might know actually if you came across the AF Playbook forum several years ago. Used to have that. It's very popular in the internet marketing community. So basically, we've compiled all of our experience from going from Facebook to native, and we built like a step-by-step course to get you from, you know, understanding what native ads are, from building your ads to finding your images to building your landing pages. We're actually sharing landing page templates with you so you can get started immediately. Yeah, and we're actually giving away a few campaigns as well in there. So I haven't really seen that being done before, but we just wanted like an all-in-one system for you guys to be able to, you know, who know nothing about that, just to be able to get started quickly and easily. So we really feel there's over 7 hours worth of content in there too. So plenty to get you guys going for sure.
Incredible. That's awesome. And we've got another question that come in that's kind of based off what you were just saying a little bit. Sure. It says, Margaret has a question. The prices of native advertising, do they vary according to the popularity of the site to where you might be placed? Like,
that's a brilliant question. That's a brilliant question. Well, in native ads, we basically bid on a widget ID level. So that's quite a technical term, but a widget ID is basically a particular placement on a website. So let's say you were bidding on, think of a big website, newsmax.com, huge site. You could basically bid on different positions on that website because different areas on the sites will attract different users. So you might have a sports section, you know, you might have a news section, you might have a gardening section, for instance. So they can convert very differently. So in terms of the popularity, yes, absolutely. The most competitive widget IDs, which are within a site, so each site has its own widget ID, some have more than others, is going to vary depending on how well they convert. So obviously, if a particular widget ID is converting very well, you're going to be paying more for that placement. Just like on Facebook, if you had a 1% lookalike audience, then you would pay more for that traffic, generally speaking, than you would for an interest, because it's a lot more dialed in, it's a lot more competitive. So yes, it does vary placement to placement, but that's a good sign. If you see that, you know, the price is higher or it's a bit more competitive for that particular site, then, you know, I'd definitely view that as a good thing.
And that's where using tools like volume and things that come into play.
Yes, okay, definitely, yeah, definitely, and it's a lot easier than it seems as well. You know, it's basically, if you guys have come from Facebook, I actually think you'll enjoy the process of native. I mean, I certainly did. You know, in terms of building your images and searching for that optimal CTR or ICTR, as we say in native, for the image click-through rate. There's no difference really. That's the key.
Okay.
It's all about the ads, guys. It's all about the ads. We know the offers work.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt it difficult in this world, like with ads getting disapproved or rejected? Do you ever run into that?
I'm only smiling because these people are going to be smiling when they try it. Because if you come from Facebook where every other day you get an ad rejected for no reason, that was the thing. I used to get ads rejected. I'd have it running for weeks. I'd have a really profitable ad set, and then I'd log in one day. Oh, all your ads are rejected. It's like, why?
I know.
Didn't do anything wrong, you know.
Yeah.
So there are with native, there's far less rules. So running weight loss on Facebook was tough.
Very.
They're all for it on native. That being said, there is compliance, and you can't literally do anything. But if you do have an ad rejected, it's not going to ban your account. If you had an ad rejected, you could just resubmit it and try again, and then get it through the second time. Or you could speak to an account manager who will be able to help perhaps push them through.
Cool.
You get dedicated account managers with native as well, which is very different to Facebook, because we had terrible support there.
Absolutely.
Crazy, wasn't it?
It still is.
It still is. Well,
yeah,
exactly.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. So less of an issue, Ben. And the other thing people don't have to worry about is the account shutdowns, because they just don't exist.
Yeah.
Which for me, how do you build a profitable, sustainable business? Yes, we can milk Facebook when it's on, but for me, that isn't a sustainable business. Yeah. It's not a profitable, sustainable business that you could run over several years. It's just a short-term milking strategy, which isn't how I certainly like to do business my end. But yes, so far less issues with compliance on native.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we get this question really every time we go into paid traffic, and it's tough to answer because, Tom can really teach you everything, guys. But at the end of the day, like, he can't do the work for you, right? You've got to get in, you've got to split test, you've got to use platforms like Volume, you've got to make your own displays, make your own creative. But Tom, let's pretend that money is not an option, an unlimited budget. Yep. What would you say is $1 per day to go in and spend?
Cool. Sorry, Ben, did you say limited or unlimited?
Unlimited. Let's pretend money's not an option.
Right. Well, to be honest, even if you were to put in 2,000, 5,000 a day, I don't really feel there'd be a benefit to that at the beginning stage, because, we want to test small and then scale up. So we want to buy our data in. So if you were to put, let's say money was no object, and you could put $200 a day and $250 a day, and I think that would be fantastic. Don't have to, but I think that would be good. And then you can buy enough data, because the more money you put in, potentially, if you're buying data and it's not profitable, obviously you're going to be further in the hole. So regardless of budget, I think budget's potentially irrelevant. I think it's more about testing small, finding profit within what you're spending, and then scaling up from there. So I'd say if you wanted an answer, maybe $250 a day would be great.
Okay. Can you scale quickly in native? I know with Facebook, there are issues of jacking up your budgets, and they're like, whoa, red flag, what's going on here? Is that the same?
No, absolutely not. I love
this. Issue. Yeah. No. Everyone on this, dive into native.
That budget up. Yes.
That's awesome. Okay. So I hope that does answer the question. But like he was saying, guys, if you don't have $250 a day, still get started. Even if you're doing $5 to $10 a day.
Yeah.
Now, if you are, let's say, $5 to $10 a day, would you still want to split test, like you said, 60 different creatives,
right,
at a massive rate like that?
It's a great point. No, because I'm not going to get enough data on each of those creatives to make any meaningful conclusions. If you guys are on a tighter budget, absolutely fine. I think it's great you're getting started in this, but I'd be testing fewer creatives. It was the same on Facebook as well, guys. So, for those of you that are running dynamic creative ad sets, and those of you guys, I hope there weren't too many of you, that had about 15 different images in and spending $30 a day or something for all of those images, you're not going to get enough data on each of those to make any conclusions on. You would have been better having maybe 3 or 4 in order to test each one enough. So there's a balancing act between testing enough to basically be diverse and find what's working, and obviously aligning your spend aligning the number of creators that you're testing with your spend.
Gotcha. Makes perfect sense. I love kind of how this works out, and I want to be cognizant of your time. So please, if you got to go, we can go.
No,
But as soon as we start Q&A, it kind of lights up.
I'm going to the gym after this, so
Okay.
I'm happy to hold off for as long as possible because I'm going to be in pain. So.
Yeah. And this as well might be a tough question to ask, and I'll ask because I'm kind of clueless in this regard.
Sure.
What's your average, cost per click or CPM? How it's measured?
Yeah, well, that's the great thing about native. Those of you that are used to the CPMs on Facebook and the cost per clicks, it can be cheaper on native.
Okay,
it can be cheaper. So it's a difficult question to answer because it will vary kind of traffic source to traffic source, and depending on what you're running. But for those you guys that are familiar with your costs on Facebook, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised on native with traffic costs.
Love that.
Yeah.
Someone asked, when you start a campaign, do you target, and this might go into kind of how volume works and a lot into your training. So if you guys do want to check it out, we'll put a link. Please dive into that. You'll love it. But do you go target like a single website or like a bunch of different, is it kind of like Facebook in terms of like interest-based targeting, search-based targeting? How does that work?
Yeah, I love the question, by the way, whoever asked that, because that kind of leads nicely from what we were discussing earlier. So basically, no, I don't. I have a collection of websites, and there's two ways to run on native. What we can do, we can basically go really big, and we can bid on everything that the traffic source has to offer. So that's called a run of the network campaign. So that's obviously going to require more spend because we're basically searching for those, 20% of golden nuggets within the, whatever that traffic source has to offer us. Okay. Or what you can actually do is we talk more about this in the course, in the Native Ads Masterclass, where we can actually use whitelists. So I don't know if you've heard this before, Ben, but what you can actually do, you can go to your account manager at Volume DSP, and you can ask them to basically pull a specific whitelist for the offer that you're promoting or the niche that you're promoting. So they can you actually get a bit of an insider look because you do get a dedicated account rep, and all our students get dedicated account reps at Volume. They know what's working. They can actually look at the traffic source, and they can see the websites that are converting. So if you were to run Flat Belly Tonic, let's say, or BioFit, great offers. Okay, you could basically take them to Volume DSP, and you could say, hey, I'm looking to run this. I want to do a desktop campaign in the USA. Can you pull me a whitelist for this, please? And they would. And then you could basically just run on the targets that were proven to convert. So that's a great way to buy some data quickly, and then perhaps move over to a run of the network to scale bigger after that. But so that's a great way to get started. If you're on a tighter budget, that's the sort of thing that would be great to do.
Okay, very cool. Someone commented, "Hey, I have one last question, please." So you can ask. We will
ask the question before.
Yeah, right. Sometimes in StreamYard, if you don't, I believe enter your name, it just shows up as Facebook user. So I apologize for not saying your name correctly because I don't think your name's Facebook user. But go ahead and ask again, and I'll be happy to ask Tom while we have him on for the last couple of minutes. Someone had asked, do push native ads to convert? Yes, they do convert for ClickBank offers.
Very well.
Absolutely.
You want to stick with hey Facebook user. You want to stick with broad appeal offers because you're not able to target at an interest level like Facebook or a lookalike level. So you want to stick with offers that can appeal to lots of people. So ClickBank, you've got these awesome energy offers. You've got solar offers. You've got weight loss offers. You've got tinnitus. You've got diabetes. Lots of people are interested in that stuff. Any health, wealth, or relationship kind of stuff is very broad appeal and will do very well for you on native.
Great point. Yeah, thank you very much for pointing that one out. I really appreciate your time. This was incredible. Again, anyone who's having trouble in Facebook ads, try this out. Okay.
Yeah.
Go through Tom's course. Look at what him and his partner have gone. I've got the pleasure of looking at it, and I can't wait to dive in myself because it's been, not only of just kind of being at Spark and instructing people. I love to practice what we preach too. And so I love being in the arena with everybody. So I can't wait to dive in and get working on this. And again, after this, I'll make sure that all the information is below for anyone who's interested to go check it out. It's an incredible, incredible product. But I guess, Tom, any kind of last remarks, words of advice, words of wisdom to anyone watching?
Yeah, well, I think the secret native, be aggressive with your testing, because you will be amazed at how differently two images will convert. It's crazy. I mean, we saw it on Facebook, but two different images will give you radically different. I could literally show you data, even stuff that looks a little bit similar. That's the mistake people make. You might have a profitable campaign under your belt, but you haven't tested thoroughly enough to find the profitability in the campaign. And don't give up. Don't expect to set one offer up and make $1 million overnight. Focus on the principles, focus on the learning, be a good student of affiliate marketing as well. I think that was the key for me. I just love, like you, Ben, just love information. I love learning and, never stop learning and just evolve with the industry as well.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. So anyway, thank you so much for coming on. This is definitely not the last we'll see of Tom. We've got a lot of fun things in the works together. And it's a pleasure to call you a friend. And
likewise, Ben.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to getting together post-COVID,
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Well, Tom, enjoy the gym, man. Thank you again for coming on. And let's talk soon.
Definitely. Okay. See you later, guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.